Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to Redbird Mall. My name is Randall Bryant. Today we are having Dallas County Democratic Party join us for the People's First Tour, where we're listening to the voices and the community of the African American community and the Democrats of Southern Black Dallas. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. My name is Randall Bryant. I'll be one of the co-moderators today along with Ms. Jolie Robinson. We want to first thank you all for coming. We know that you could have been anywhere on a Saturday afternoon, could have been with friends and family enjoying the weather, but you took this opportunity to not only join us, but express your concerns, express your viewpoints, and how to make Dallas County Democratic Party a stronger party for not just internally, but for the people that we serve, which is you. If there are any precinct chairs, candidates, elected officials, we want to just kind of recognize you real quick. In precinct chairs, I know Mr. Antonio. You want to just introduce any precinct chairs? Go ahead.
My name is Vita Webster Thorne. I'm the new precinct chair for precinct 3317.
Thank you for coming.
And I'm Antonio Champion, precinct 3816.
Good afternoon, everyone. Benton Hill Jones, precinct chair for 4041.
I'm Judge Margaret Jones Johnson, Dallas County Probate Court number 3, and I'm running for re-election. And I also do the mental illness court, where we do all the commitments, all the civil commitments for Dallas County. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We have the precinct chairs. All right, elected officials, I see Ms. Joyce Foreman. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. Dallas ISD trustee.
District 6.
6. District 6.
You're in my district.
Judge.
Judge Cheryl Williams, City of Dallas Municipal Court. We run a drug court. All you need is a citation. It is a grant-funded drug court. One citation, you can get treatment on the court through our grant. So just wanted to put that out there, and I work with Judge Jones on a lot of mental health issues.
Thank you. I work a little bit, I got to recognize
Advertising drug court.
Harrison Black from Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce president. Any candidates? Yes.
My name is Jane Hope Hamilton. I am not technically a candidate, but I do have an exploratory committee in the event that Congresswoman Edvernice Johnson retires. We are obviously in Congressional District 30, and if she retires, I am considering running. Thank you.
Candidate?
I'm just representing Judge Rocky, I'm sorry,
Okay.
in her absence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I kind of talked about what the purpose of why we're here. Dallas County Democratic Party, headed by Chairwoman Christy Noble as well as Vice Chair Cardone Coleman, put together the People First Listening Tour. The purpose is to ensure the voices, the many diverse voices that make up the Democratic Party are being heard. You know, regardless of what the past has been, some of you may have felt this is a new day in Dallas County Democratic Party. And so this time, this opportunity, this venue, this space is allowing us to hear the voice of the African American community and to give feedback on issues that you may have, ways to change the party for the betterment, and how we can move forward as a party. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my co-moderator, Ms. Jolie Robinson.
Hi, everyone. You clap for me. Hi, everyone. My name is Jolie Angel Robinson. My day job, I'm the VP of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Dallas Area Habitat. Previously, I managed community engagement at the Dallas Police Department. I love all things Dallas, love to partner with the Dallas Black Chamber, Harrison Blair, Ms. Sandra Bowie of the City of Dallas, love all my people, Stacy that I get to see, Cardall, thank you for calling me and giving me the opportunity to join today. I'm in charge of introductions of our awesome and esteemed panelists that we're going to hear from today. Chairwoman Christy Noble was elected on June 3rd, 2021. Christy is a small business owner and co-founder of the Funky East Dallas Democrats, one of the most active political clubs in Dallas County. As chair, Christie's priorities include increasing voter turnout in the south and southwest portions of the county, expanding the party's donor base, and making the party more transparent and inclusive. Stand up, Christie, so everyone can see you. Cardall Coleman, who is just a G and amazing, serves as vice chair of the Dallas County Democrats, the first African American in Dallas County Democrat Party leadership. Cardall is a labor organizer and a strategist. The vice chair is an extension of the chair to increase the DCDP footprint countywide, serving as an advisor to the chair to ensure inclusion of diverse voices in all we do as Democrats. Stand up, Mr. Cardall. Thank you to you both. So for the next phase, and I like to give people an overview of what's going to happen for today so that you understand the roadmap. You're going to hear from the chair and the vice chair. They're going to lay out their vision for DCDP and detail what they've accomplished since being elected. Then we have some questions that we're going to give them. We're going to ask you all questions from the audience if you have any questions from them, and then they'll give some closing remarks. Again, thank you all for joining us. It's beautiful to see all of your wonderful your faces, and what a blessing. All right, go ahead. Let's take it away, Ms. Christie.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for coming out, for having us down. And first of all, like Julie said, I just want to talk about a little of what our vision is and kind of what we have done so far since June 3rd. I think there's three main things in terms of the vision that we want to accomplish. We want to make sure that we are providing really good support to the Democratic organizations within the county as a whole. That includes precinct chairs, that includes Democratic clubs, that includes elected officials, and that includes all the diverse communities within the party. I know that there has been frustration before because of lack of diversity, lack of transparency, lack of inclusion, and really almost a cliquish feel to the Dallas Democratic Party. We want to change that. I feel personally that we have gone as far as we can as a Democratic Party in Dallas County and really in Texas, doing things in our own individual groups and our own individual silos. If we're going to get the real change based on the shared values that we have to find a way to unite, to listen to all the voices of all the vast different communities within the Democratic organizations, figure out that message that resonates with all of us. And if we can do that, we are going to be unstoppable in this county for all the office holders, all the office positions in the state of Texas, and so goes Texas, so goes the country. I feel strongly that we, Dallas County, are at the crossroads. And if we can figure out how to listen to each other and work together, that we're going to change the country. And I do also feel like it is, the reason I got involved in politics is because I'm one of those middle-aged white women that got pissed off about Trump, and here we go, right? And so we started the feds, and the reason we started the feds is because we went to the party and they said, there's nothing to do, you know, where were you 2 months ago, and you know, we're on our time off. And then we said, well, we're going to do this. No, you don't do that because that's not the way it's done. We're going to do this. No, you don't do that because that's not the way it's done. And what I've heard is that other people have felt that way too. Well, I decided with some other folks that, okay, this isn't rocket science, right? It's just getting people together, listening, and starting action. That's what we did. And what I found through that is that we've all heard it, right? We are the heroes that we are looking for, and we have to become that. And I believe that the conversations, the changing in messaging, getting out the vote, all of that has to start at the ground level, at the grassroots level, in rooms like these. We can't wait for the DNC, we can't wait for the TDP. We are the ones who have to start that, and Cardall and I are going to continue to do that, and we believe that we can make that happen, and it starts with you. We want to hear what we need to do different, what you need to see from the party, and I think that's how we move forward. So I'm going to stop right there because I could talk a lot about a lot of details of what we're going to do and where we're going to go, but I want to get to the questions. So I'm going to let Cardall go ahead and say a few words, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks so much. I'll start kind of a little bit different. On Juneteenth, it was my family's family reunion. We do that every year. Missed it this year because Chrissy and I were on a trail. Recently elected and appointed, and so we wanted to make sure that we hit every Juneteenth event that we could, countywide, from Elm Thicket all the way down to DeSoto. I think we had like 7 events that weekend. I called my dad and said, hey, sorry, I hope your mom not mad at me, I'm not gonna be able to make it. He said, you know, you signed up for the job, go do the job, don't worry about the family reunion. I say that to say, seeing you all in this room today means so much to me because it feels like a family reunion. I haven't seen a lot of people in so long, pre-pandemic, so just wanted to start with that. Don't want to get to calling names, but it's one person that I do want to recognize, Ms. Edna Pemberton. I want to thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know, this space, this mall, Redbird as we know it would not be possible without Edna Pemberton and all of her work. Me in this role, my first time lobbying our state legislators as a freshman or as a junior staffer for Mayor Mike Rollins was possible because of Miss Edna Pemberton. She put me on the bus, gave me lunch, and sent me down there to lobby. and you know, a few years later, here I am serving as the vice chair of the Democratic Party, and all of that is thanks to Miss Edna Pemberton. Just as Christy said, you know, we've been on the job like 6 weeks. Yeah. 6 weeks, so it's gone by really fast because, to be honest with you, the party, and I know the community has, when I say community at large, has its view of what the Democratic Party is. We talk to different contingencies, talk to media, minority media, and they're like, hey, you need to buy in. But to be honest, Christy, and I'll share this, that we didn't come into a strong situation as what we inherited. And that's no, not disrespecting the former administration, but just wanted to let everybody know, you know, what we walked into, and we didn't have a ton of resources. So we kind of, in the last 6 weeks, we've come in, boots on ground, make sure that we want to meet everyone, shake every hand, but also get out and fundraise like crazy. So that's where we've been the past few weeks. This room to us, once we actually got in, got settled, you know, we had a conversation and said, we want to make sure that we have a listening tour. So earlier this morning, we were in Richardson with the Muslim Democrats. A week ago, we were out in Mesquite, far Mesquite, with the East County Democrats. And we have several we have Jewish tomorrow, and then AAPI tomorrow afternoon, and several more. But just want to thank you guys for being here. We're going to get back into the questions, but I just want to say that to you all. Give you a snapshot of where we've been, where we're trying to go, and what we've been doing in the past 6 weeks. So, thank you.
Thank you. That is not a short order. Thank you all for all that you've done to step up. I saw our councilman step into the room, Councilmember Casey Thomas. Everybody, hello. Thank you. So a couple of questions I'm going to ask, and then my co-moderator will get to his questions as well. And I'm going to kind of lump mine into one question. It's kind of the same. What is the biggest challenge you faced? I've heard fundraising, I've heard resources. What is the biggest challenge you faced since taking office? What's the biggest challenge Dallas Democrats face going into 2022?
We talked about fundraising. I'll let Christy talk about that. She's a business owner and really good with the numbers. But I'll talk about something that a title or a brand that we used in the mayor's office was debunking the myth. Right? Everybody has an idea of what the party is or what the Democratic Party is or supposed to be here in Dallas County. And so not necessarily working against that image, but creating a new. So that's where we are today. That's why we're here today. I think that's our biggest challenge now ahead of us, and hopefully you all will help us in getting that message out, that you have two people who are energized and fired up about the Democratic Party and turning out new voters, turning out our base, and then also turning out new voters.
Absolutely. Can I just tell you guys I love him? I'll talk about him later, but he's amazing, and I thank God every day that I've learned about him, and he is teaching me something every day. So I just want to say thanks to Cardall. Second, as far as the biggest obstacle, I'll just, if you don't know me, you will figure out very soon that I'm a straight shooter, and I'm gonna not pull punches, and I'm not gonna hide anything. We walked in to a situation where we had a month's worth of operating expenses for the Dallas County Democratic Party. Barely. Oh, thank you, Brandon. I was like,
Have you changed that?
I have changed that. We have changed that. The whole group of us have changed that, and we are working to change it more. We can talk about, we've got a professional fundraiser that we're bringing in. We're going to create a financial plan. We're going to, from top to bottom, I really believe that we can. We've seen the difference that small donations can make, and I think that we can do that from a sustaining donor program. One, because it's not going to work unless it's all of us. It's all of us, from the thought process, the engagement of volunteers, and also, whatever we can give to produce a professional level organization within the Dallas County Democratic Party. I believe that we can get to with small donations, and the leadership council that we're working with the elected officials, providing them with more support, and the more unity that we can all serve each other. We're all in a symbiotic relationship, and we've got to get that working right. But with the small donations and the leadership council, I want to be able to handle the operating costs with those two fundraising types, and then anything else we do can be absolutely all of it go to voter outreach, which is the main thing that we have to do. So from a fundraising perspective, that is huge. And then the other thing I feel, and what I have heard as we went on the listening tour to precinct chairs before the election, was visibility into what we're doing. We're working on that, but then division within the party, and that's what we're trying to start to solve, and take the first steps with this listening tour, and then continue on with a community council that's going to be greatly involved in our outreach program through the precinct chairs and the clubs, and then also, like I mentioned, the messaging from the ground up. So I kind of gave you two things, so that was okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just explain what the Leadership Council is?
Yes, yes.
So some of these terms are kind of inside baseball, but a Leadership Council is our elected official council. And so they pay to be a member of the council, which also kind of props us up as a party financially. So we have different levels of that council. And if any elected official is interested in being a member of our Leadership Council, I can get you that information. Brandon, one of our staffers, is here, and he can get you that information. But that's just what the Leadership Council is.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Helpful, no, thank you.
Real quick, I want to recognize DeSoto City Councilwoman Chris Chisholm. This next question, I'll be honest with you all, they presented us with these questions, but this one's going to kind of resonate with me, so I'm going to add a little flavor to it, if you don't mind. Historically speaking, the black community has been viewed, as far as when you talk about voter outreach, in two terms: church programs and vote by mail. I will make a statement and then ask the question: the black community is bigger than vote by mail and church programs. And you're talking to someone that goes to church, but I'm still saying that, right? So the question then is, what is your plan for increasing turnout in the black community?
Well, I think that, honestly, when I did the listening tour, the division in the county was what I heard from this community, right? I'm like I said, middle-aged white woman. I think I'm woke. I think I'm inclusive. I think I accept everyone. And one of the things that I've learned over the last 6 weeks and the time I've been working with Cardall is that there is much I have to learn about this community. I know I have much to learn about the Muslim community. I have much to learn about numerous communities, and I think that we as Democrats have a lot to learn about other communities as well. Before we even talk about voter turnout, about donations, about volunteering, about any of that, it's the old adage that I think is most important at this moment, and it's they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think as a party and as an organization, not just me, not just Cardall, but the culture of Democrats in this county has to change to go in that manner. That we as Democratic officials care about all of these communities. And we want to show that. And then we want to talk about and hear from you, why don't folks in your community vote? And that's when we'll take action. Because I don't have the answers, but I believe that you do. And together we can take those answers and make them action. So that might be a real high level, but that is truly what I believe and why we are doing this.
And I'll add a little bit to that.
Yeah.
Randall, some folks know I sometimes hang out with Dominique, who's not afraid to go anywhere. And so I think that's also the motto and mindset that we have to take as a Democratic Party. Go everywhere, not just church and not just by mail. We started back again on our Juneteenth tour, or the Juneteenth weekend. We were in Jockey, a place that most people forget about or won't even go. And so we have to get in a habit of showing up for people, number one, but also going to places that aren't popular, going to places that aren't politically popular. And so I think that's how we do it as a Democratic Party, make sure that we're energizing our base, number one, but then also going to places that we haven't historically been.
Okay. We'll do one more question from the moderators, and then I will open up to the audience for any questions. So if you have anything on your mind, I advise, please ask. This is not the time to hold back. We'll try to make sure it doesn't get too outlined, but we've seen enough chatter on Facebook to know that you all have some strong opinions that need to be voiced here.
That's true.
So please share them today, share them now. So I'm going to ask one more question. If you got anything on your heart, on your mind, now's the time to say it. So the last question from us is talking about candidate recruitment. What's the party's role in identifying new candidates? The good thing about Dallas County, we pretty much maxed out Democratic seats, but there are a few left. So let's talk about, we got, John Turner retiring.
What about him?
Who?
That young man?
What about?
Future candidate.
A future candidate? Well, he's going to be able to respond. So if he wants to say he wants to self-nominate himself to run something, I'm not going to stop him. But the seats that are remaining, what is the party's role in identifying for those seats and in the future of the Democratic Party as well?
And supporting.
Of course.
All right, cool. And I mean, even though we're solidly blue county, we still have some really important seats to pick up, and to be quite frank, some seats where black people live to pick up. Think about County Commissioner District 2. We have quite a few black folks, which is House District 113, Retta Bowers, which proves there's a number of us out in Garland, Rowlett, Richardson. So there's places where we can improve, even in Garland with Angie Chen Button, a Republican kind of North Garland area. There's a lot of black folks, and they have a strong NAACP chapter out there, which proves that the black leadership and the black vote is strong in Garland and Richardson. So there's plenty opportunity for us to improve. I think that candidate recruitment, is just sharing with Christy earlier, that the party has to come alongside people and be a good partner. So beyond conversations and what we do, we have to provide resources and be able to fundraise and do all the things that we need to. We can't say, hey, this is a good idea, you should go run without providing people resources, whether that's boots on the ground, whether that's financial, or what have you. So we have to do a better job, and that's what we're committed to do as far as candidate recruitment. It is our role to find candidates and to make sure that they're trained, equipped, and fully staffed to be able to run against Republicans. So that is a large part of what we do as the Democratic Party. Not all of what we do, but that does fall within our wheelhouse.
And I would just add to that a strong Democratic Party in the county or in the state, it has to be top to bottom, right? I mean, and honestly, we're walking into a ground level type of situation. But in the world that we want to be in the party that we want to have, it's a party that's supporting precinct chairs. It's a party that is creating teams around precinct chairs and working within the House districts that are providing the base level support and voter outreach for our elected officials, so they can come in and have the base there ready for them, and they can work on those persuasion votes. If we have that in place, then that is the breeding ground for future candidates. And what I've seen so far in my short time in Dallas County Democratic politics is that when there's an opening and we have a Democrat that steps up to be a candidate, that a lot of times they are a great candidate. They have a lot of skills, they have a lot of knowledge, passion, and desire, but they don't have the background of how politics work, of how all the offices work, how just inherently a campaign runs. Not that they have to know all the details, but if we have an active party who's working throughout the county around those base things, then some of that knowledge is just automatically there because they've been involved in voting, what a precinct chair is, what a precinct chair does, what block walks are. And that might seem very basic, but we want people knowing that to have that first level before they say, hey, I want to be a state representative. So that's the first level. And then to talk about what Cardall was mentioning as well, is that support of candidates as they're coming up. We need to provide a path and a guide and some sessions and people to talk to and support and mentorship of what a campaign looks like, what you need to do around that. Have a list of consultants and vendors that we have used in the past, or have some kind of process there. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, because we were talking just before this meeting that if people come up, they don't really know the landscape of the politics in the county or in the state. I mean, they can be taken advantage of pretty easily, right? We want to take care of our people, and we want to provide that as we go. And I think we put those two things in place, and there'll be other things, but that provides that path to having good candidates and really a bench that we want to have as Democrats.
Thank you so much.
To my sister right here, I really appreciate your vote of confidence, but I'm not a candidate. We have some amazing elected officials here in Dallas County, and my job is just kind of turn up the vote and turn up the base. So that's what I'm committed to do for the next 2 years. Thank you.
So I hope everyone kind of has those questions formulated in your brain. If you can, we'll go ahead and get started. You can raise your hand and go ahead and ask those questions. I think I saw a hand here. I'm going to go here and then over here.
All right, so you mentioned, well, the question that was asked about uplifting and improving the vote of black communities. You went to Garland, but I want to bring it back to Oak Cliff and South Dallas and DeSoto and Lancaster, where a lot of elected officials have learned to work around black communities. So what do you plan to do to actually work to improve those votes for those black neighborhoods, those parts of black communities that are not actively voting but need to be engaged, the number of precinct chair seats that are empty in the southern sector of Dallas? How do you work to improve the southern sector of Dallas when there's not a challenge of a Republican seat, but there's a desperate need to improve the black vote in those areas? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, man. First of all, across the county, all the precinct chairs, all the House districts, from my perspective as county chair, we want to organize them from a structural perspective, the same, right? Is that we want to put a program in place and infrastructure in place that takes a House district, breaks the precincts down into smaller groups that are going to become teams, that are going to work together. They're going to have lay out a plan of, we want to do this for, our goals are this for voter registration. We want to work to get new precinct chairs, and then precincts that we don't have, this is what we're going to be doing for voter, GOTV, voter turnout. And we want to be on a continual basis building democratic communities. So we're going to be providing a plan and support and mentors and getting together frequently for working meetings and to set out those type of activities. And so there's the general structure that we have to put in place that we haven't had before, right? It's been, you're a precinct chair, here's a manual, here's a few phone numbers, or here's a list that from 6 months ago, go, do your thing, right? There's no way, you cannot be successful. I want to make every precinct chair and every precinct team, because there's not one person that can do it on their own. We want to show that we are a team, and we want to take advantage and utilize everyone's skills. So that's the structure. Once we put that structure in place, which we're actually going to start doing that, having trainings in August, and it's going to be for precinct chairs and anybody who wants to be involved, right? Precinct chairs are super important, and we're going to hold them up, but the way we hold them up is providing them support with other volunteers who are knowledgeable and passionate about all of this. Then, once we get that in place, the exact next thing is to say, these are the things we need to do in your precinct, or in all of these precincts within this team, right? Here are your number of registered voters. Here's the voter turnout that was there last time. Here's, the percentage of turnout for Democrats. Here's how many that we don't get out, right? Our turnout was 50% or 70%, and this is what we want it to be. And then we go to the community that is within that precinct and say, why are folks not voting? What do they want to see? What are we not providing? What is the Democratic Party as a whole not providing? What is the County of Dallas or the City of Dallas or DeSoto or Lancaster not providing? Let's take that feedback through the precinct chairs and the teams, and then the community council that's going to be formed after then through this listening tour to make those actions. So I don't have the exact actions, I have the structure that we want to put in place, and then we have to get the information back and then provide the support and listen to make that happen. That's my take on what we'll do. And do you have a follow-up question on that, or does that answer what you want to know? Okay.
Can I follow up on that? As a staffer?
Specifically.
To this.
Yeah.
As a staffer, one, I want to say, one of the things I love about Christy is she does not micromanage. She's like, go do it. Like, here's what I want you to do, and go do it. And one of the things I've been doing is talking to community leaders to find precinct chairs for some of these NPCs. So talking to folks like Randall, and talking to Sydney, and several other leaders in the community, like to help us map out the empty precinct chairs seats, so that we then go find folks in the community. And so that's another effort that we are doing that we haven't really talked about, but it's just something behind the scenes that we do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, and then.
My name is Linda Lydia. I am a precinct chair, and Christy, I think you're doing a great job, great start.
Thank you.
And I'm also on the advisory council for the precinct chairs. But at any rate, I really think that we need to be a little bit more proactive. I'm looking at Trump and those people who think there's a big lie out there. They're actually out campaigning already. They're busy doing things and maintaining visibility. I've always felt like we haven't maintained enough community visibility. They don't see us out there doing things. I walked my entire precinct by myself. Even had the police called on me a couple of times.
Well, you ain't walked your precinct
when you're
till that happens. I know that.
Anglo neighborhood, they call the police on you. And I'm just glad I wasn't a male, because I probably would have been in jail still today. But regardless of that, I just really want us to, like what's going on in Austin with our African American state representatives. I would like for us to have rallies supporting their activism. I mean, there has to be a show of support from the Democratic Party. I'm a little concerned about Dallas County Democratic Party. I was really upset at the last gubernatorial election. But anyway, let's move on to something else. I just really think we need to have more visibility in our communities so people will know that the Democrats are doing something. you know, me once a year or twice a year out walking my precinct, putting stuff out in my little precinct, that's not gonna cut it. We need, you know, pervasive exposure in order to really bring awareness to what you are doing. Because I think you're doing some incredible things. I really do. I think you're on the right path, and I'm very appreciative of your leadership. Thank you.
Sure, yeah.
You're so right about that. First, thank you for being the precinct chair. Thank you for being here. You're so right. Last weekend was a busy weekend for us as a county party. We were kind of spread thin. Our staff was spread thin. And actually, Tremont, who is vice president of our Texas Black Coalition of Democrats, was at an event in South Dallas Fair Park. And as Chrissy and I were trying to make every stop that we could, we got a call that the Republican Party, their chairman, and a slew of young Republicans, all in branded T-shirts, were in South Dallas. So as you talk about, at a community cleanup, not doing anything political, but just being visible, getting their hands dirty. Right? And I don't want to say, I don't want to make the assertion that it was for photo op or whatever, but they were there. So the point that I'm making is, you're right. And I will say that one thing that is really exciting to me about Chrissy is that she knows how to plan a good party. She knows how to plan events and get people mobilized. So, you know, that event just last weekend had our antennas up, because that's State Rep Jasmine Crockett's district, who has been loud and proud in DC. And so while we're actively doing the work, and as a party, making sure that we're out talking to everybody, we have the Republican Party kind of sneaking through the back door. So we have to make sure that we keep our head on the swivel, but also mobilizing, not just us as we're hitting a number of events, but also you guys. So making sure that you're involved in what we do, knowing that you know our actions, every action alert that we put out, that you're aware of it, and that starts with communication. We're going to be better at pushing that information out.
Technically, they didn't slip through the door. I mean, they didn't come through the back door. They were invited like everybody.
All right.
They came.
I'm going to go to Ms. Joyce, Jessarobo, and right over here, okay?
Can I speak to this real quick?
Really quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, and I just want to add on to this. I think that what Cardall said is right on, right? I was pissed off, right? I was like, they're in our turf, and we're going to make a difference. Next month, August 14th, we are going to have a slew, and I hope that some of you are there, but we're going to have people there, and we're going to show Democrats are in force, and we are going to be in force in the community way before any election time. Again, it goes back to, you're not going to care what we know until you know that we care, and I want to show that ongoing. The next thing is what he said about communication and about engagement. Me and Cardall, we cannot know about every event that's going on, and we won't be able to cover every event that's going on. But that's why we have to build those teams. That's why we have to build that community, so that we, as a Democratic Party, know about them, we do the communication, and we get out people to all the places that matter to show that we care. So we need you, and I know that you need us. So communicate with us, let's build that team, and let's do that. I am committed to that.
Ms. Joyce.
Thank you. I'm going to stand so you can see me. The elephant in the room is black people feel like the Democratic Party has abandoned them.
Yes.
And nobody wants to say that.
Say it.
But that's a fact.
Yeah.
The Republicans were in South Dallas because the Democrats are not.
Yes. You're right.
And I think people are frustrated with the Democratic Party because they have not been open to the black community. Most of these people in here work on campaigns,
Yes.
or they are elected officials. The first thing an older black person will ask you, is it a Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
Then they want to vote. If it's not, they don't want to vote.
Yes.
And so what we're expecting is when we talk about the black community and what's happening, we don't want to hear about the other communities.
Okay.
We want to hear about what you're going to do to change that. The bedrock of the Democratic Party is who? Black people.
Yes,
Black women especially.
What's he say? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so when we come to these kinds of rallies, you started started Randall, but Randall knows me. He's come up in the grassroots.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or the black women.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but I just want you to understand that we want to know that our vote is important.
Yes.
And that the Democratic Party will no longer take our vote for granted. And when we're having a conversation, I don't want to hear about all these other people.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we're talking about what are you going to do to change the way the Democratic Party looks at us.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I won't say that I understand, but I hear you.
I can help you understand.
I want to understand.
I'm an elected official. I can help you understand.
I want to understand, and I want to listen, and I want to learn. I started with saying that I don't know all the answers. I am committed to making the change that I am able to make in the Dallas County Democratic Party. And I will be the first to tell you, and many of you already know this, that I won't, I will make mistakes.
We all do.
But I can tell you that I'm not a politician. I've never wanted to be in office. I am in this office because I thought that my skills could do good and to get people together and to get out the vote. I don't know the answers to making sure that the black community and black women feel important and making sure that the Democratic Party knows that. I'm not exactly sure what to do. I want to know what to do.
May I suggest you have a rounding with some black women? There are plenty of them right here.
Okay. So
that's an action item to take away.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have Cardall respond. I'm gonna have Cardall respond and then move to the next one.
To that point, when we don't know what to do, we ask for help. My favorite thing about Chris is when our first meeting, she told me that she wanted me to be involved, and I asked her, well, what's your platform, what are you about? And the first thing that came out of her mouth was strengthening the base here in the South, strengthening black votes from Dallas proper all the way down to the county line. That's what brought me into the fold with Christie. Nothing else, to be frank with you. And then her support of justice. So those two things, I'm an issue-based person. And so if you can resonate with me on issues, which is kind of where we're moving as an electorate, especially for black folks. As you relate to us on issues, then you can win over our vote. So we definitely will follow up on action items, but I'm here as well to make sure that black votes are heard and say that black votes matter.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
respect that, but be open.
Yes, ma'am.
To other people coming in, because some people might have a little bit different perspective because they lived a little longer.
Gotcha.
Proceed. Yes, sir, and then over here, and then to Stacy.
Hi, my name is Jay Swan Roboy, and I'll be Carey Jr. And a lot of the things that she shared, I was going to say, so I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. But I do want to say this, though. You know, a lot of the wins that Democrats have had in Dallas County have been in spite of the Dallas County Democratic Party.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not due to the Dallas County Democratic Party. Last year we had civil unrest. Last year you had the recipe to sweep elections, to win certain elections, and also to win statewide. But yet, the Dallas County Democratic Party, as I looked around at protests, guess who I didn't see? Did not see the Dallas County Democratic Party on issues that really matter to black people. You know, and a lot of times when I go to Dallas County Democratic Party meetings, which I'm in the back because I like to keep a low profile, I don't see many of us, and if I do, I don't see any of the generation that's out in the streets.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you spend a lot of money. When I say you, not just the Dallas County Democratic Party, but the Texas Democratic Party, which I'm a former executive committee member of, spent a lot of money to barely get 50% of Hispanic votes. Did not invest any money in the black community and still got majority of the black votes. Imagine what you would have done had you taken that money and invested it in the black community. One of the senators within the state of Texas probably would be a Democrat right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because
two of them actually, if you count this last election and the one prior where we didn't where we could have picked up enough votes in Dallas County alone
Exactly.
to win.
Exactly.
A black vote, we could have picked up enough votes in South Dallas alone, but there was no investment
I agree.
So
in the
let them
community to get out the
respond.
vote.
We'll let them respond to that.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, 100%. That's why I'm here, that's why I ran, is because there are at least 100,000 votes in Dallas County that, within southern Dallas County, that have not been tapped because they don't feel that the Democratic Party is their party, that they won't be heard. I'm 100% in agreement with you, and that's why I think that Dallas County is at the crosshairs. If we can unite, do the right thing, and when I say do the right thing, I mean the party. So I am right there with you. Help me do it.
One thing I want to say is this, because in the last election cycle, people were told that black issues were too far to the left. Black issues are not liberal issues. Black issues are not conservative issues. Black issues are a matter of right and wrong. They're a matter of justice and injustice.
Yes, sir.
It's not just enough to have equality. Now's the time to pick up the banner and fight for equity.
Equity.
Thank you, thank you. Next question.
This question is coming from a place of, frankly, a little bit of anxiety, but it's a real place. When I was 28 years old, I managed the campaign when we flipped the county, when we turned the county blue. We had Craig Watkins at the top of the ticket. We had all these judges. One of the things that was really hard was I was young, black, and a woman, and I felt very isolated. And when I looked around in the room, there was no one who looked like me. So though I was sitting in a role of a campaign manager, in many cases I was fighting, it was a lot of pushing with people inside of the building. And so what I want to know is, how are we addressing staffing, and not just staffing, somebody at the front desk, and vendors? Because in many cases when I had the budget, right? I know I'm looking at checks going out the door. So what kind of process are we gonna, now that we have a chance to implement something new and try something different, what are your thoughts about how that's gonna happen?
So let me talk to vendors first.
Please.
And then we'll go back. So the vendor process, honestly, there's been the perception or the reality, or I don't know, right? I don't even care. But it looks like that the operations of the party in Dallas County have been outsourced for a very long time to consultants.
That's right.
Right? Okay, so what we have to do is we are the party, right? We need to have the operations of the party, and it needs to be operated by staff, a professional level staff. And so that's the goal of doing that, getting an executive director, field director, communication folks, finance folks in there at a level that is equated and to the 8th largest county in the country, right? It makes no sense for there to be 2 people or a bunch of part-time folks that don't have the experience to run this large of a county. So that's the first thing, right? We're not going to outsource all the operations. The second thing is that we are going to need outside help, and we are going to need vendors. And the vendor process has to be a process that's equitable, right? And the first thing is putting in a process, and there's never been a process. So there's going to be a bidding process, request for proposal. There's going to be what we look at in terms of how we award the mail program and the digital program, and if we have to do outside field and phones and everything, every aspect of a coordinated campaign, as well as 365-day operations of all of those things as well, because again, we're a large county and we have to do that. So that process is going to be equitable. It will be out there, it will be seen, you'll be able to see it, and it's not going to be hidden behind anything. The other thing that as we're doing this meeting, we are going to do the same with vendors. right? I'm gonna bring all the vendors into a room and talk about the process that I was just describing once it's defined and say, this is how we're going to choose. Because the thing is, I know that there are vendors and the consultants, and that is how they pay their bills, and that is how they make their money. But it still comes down to the same thing. We are all Dallas County Democrats, and we all have to find the right way to work together, whether you're a volunteer, a precinct chair, an elected official, or a consultant who's getting your money from this. So that's my thought and on the vendor process. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay, and then about staff and diversity. We have job postings out there, and we will be putting a premium on minority individuals that have the skills and the resume to get a professional level operation going. I am committed to that. And if we are focusing on also changing the office itself, right? And your point about having folks in the office and around the table that look like you, or look like me, or look like someone else, that point is taken, right? I live in East Dallas. I created a group in East Dallas, and it's a bunch of middle-aged white women, because that's what I am, right? Those are the people I know. But what I have to do in this position is to reach out, to get other people from other communities, this community, black women, into the office on an ongoing basis, volunteering, having group meetings there, in the staff, and putting a focus on that. Because what I want the people coming in and out and using the party and having party activities out in the community, I want to get to where it looks like all of us, right? I had we had and I'm just talking about for a second that we had that other meeting this morning, but I'm focusing on you.
You learned already.
I'm used to that.
But what I want to do, what we need to do eventually is have a meeting and activities where we're all there and we can all talk to each other and understand more about each other. That's how we're going to go forward. So follow up on that, or?
That's great, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Any last burning questions? After Stacy, I'm going to take one last burning question. The folks are going to be here if you have questions after Stacy, and please, one last burning question. Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm very new to the Democratic Party, really political ongoings in general. I'm clergy and we tend to stay away from that stuff.
Glad you're here.
However, lots of prayers. But one of the observations that I've had, not just in the Dallas County, but on the national party as a whole, is this chasm when it comes to age. And we feel like the younger generation, like we don't have an opportunity because there's so many people that feel like they have to die in office, and so there's really, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. You'll learn that about me. I don't spare my tongue either, and we can talk about it after if you have any questions. But really, it feels like they have to die in office, so really there's no knowledge transfer, there's no means of development, and that's a biblical principle. If you look at any of the prophets, they all he had a protege, but we don't see that. So what is being done to facilitate that knowledge transfer and to let the older generation know it's okay, there's capable hands where you can move out the way and let the younger generation come through.
So we're not all seeing lame ducks.
You want to take one?
Sure. You said what is being done. We've been here for 6 weeks. I just want to.
Well,
but to that
To
point,
think like the thoughts about it.
yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen. Christy and I talked about our community council and what that looks like and the purpose of it. And that's so that we can share ideas, that all the voices can come to the table. And then that needs to be a knowledge dump. We have some of our senior electeds who've been around for a while, and that would be a great place for them to come in and embrace some of our younger folks and vice versa. So I think the community council is really going to be a place where that transforms the Democratic Party and how we operate. And if we need to talk offline, we can.
And I just want to add one thing to that. You're right. you know, an older generation, younger generation, there is that great divide. And I might sound like a broken record, but there's some basic principles in the culture of the Dallas County Democratic Party that we have to put in place. And that one that I just talked about is bringing everyone together and working together, creating committees and work, you know, not committees that do the Robert's Rules of Order and this and that, but committees and groups that do things, that have people of all different cross-sections. I am committed to that and to making that happen. And another thing that I view my job as is to shrink the distance between the voter and the elected officials, right? Not only do we need to have events and we need to lay a path for different groups of people to talk to each other, but we need to provide those opportunities for voters and elected officials at large events and small events and neighborhood events. And all of that needs to start being done through that structure of the precinct chair organization and structure that we put in place, that the community council sits on top of, and the club council sit on top of, and we plug in the officials. And you might say, well, how does that work? But it's all about getting people talking and knowing each other and shrinking those distances and those relationships.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw this hand first.
I'm trying to keep it short. Okay, like I'll give an example with any party. Okay, like we're here as a race, and then the black woman said, "Me, black woman." The other one says, "I'm clergy." The other one says, "I'm an elected official." So there's already divisions. How can you get over that? And if I go to, like I went to the Muslims, and then they said fairness and justice and Martin Luther King, and so they got a common, they kind of get it about the common thing. But I come here, black women. I'm an older woman. I need to get in office. So how do we get rid of this split?
The division.
Now, the division that's out here, then the elected officials want to stay in their political things.
Yes, ma'am.
And then she said, stay too long. So how do we get, and before you say, like here, if you say, well, Medicare, because I'm older, people tell me Medicare, I'm too young for Medicare. So what I'm saying is, can they get beyond what they think and just come up with a united front, period? Or if you go to the gay thing, you're going to say, well, gay marriage, well, I'm a queer, I'm a trans. So how do you get beyond all that? Because I'm going to run back to the party I ran from if the Democrats don't stop.
Yes, ma'am. Correct. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Real quick. Again, thank you for being here. She shared with us, she was at the Muslim event this morning, and she's not Muslim, but she said that she was a former Republican who's turned Democrat, and so as we talk about energizing our base and turning out our voters and black voters, there are also a lot of black voters who don't identify as Democrat and think the way that most of us do. And so I appreciate you for being here, because that's important too. We also have to persuade new voters to be on the right side of the track. Yeah. So to that point, thank you for the question. We as the Democratic Party have to be more inclusive. That's how we shrink that gap. Yeah. So as you talk about bringing different people into the fold, we can all coexist, but we have to be a functional party. You know, when the parents are fighting, it kind of affects the kids. So we have to be a functional party, and that starts with our leadership and just all of you being engaged with us and us communicating, keeping those lines of communication open.
Yes.
All right, so I'm sorry we got to cut it off, but Christy and Cardall will be here. Dominique, I'm going to have to shut you off too. I'm sorry. But Christy and Cardall will be here to answer any additional questions. I know a couple of precinct chairs and SDC I was going to recognize you anyway, but Dr. Loretta Neville's a precinct chair. And then I want to recognize, as far as our clubs, also Tremont and Ms. Beatrice Lovey, who's also a precinct chair and vice chair of the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats Dallas chapter. So if any of y'all here looking for memberships to that organization, please get plugged in with them as well. We're going to just have final remarks. We had a few little other icebreakers, but for the second time, we're going to pass over those if you all don't mind. But please follow up with any additional questions that you have for them, and then of course share about the sustaining membership.
Sure, I'll do that. So our sustaining membership, I guess this is kind of like our benediction.
Hello.
And as a sustaining member, they good for hitting that call.
And I'm I'm gonna let Christy give that benediction, but I'm kind of here to raise a quick offering. For anybody who's interested in becoming a sustaining donor of the party, that's not why we have these conversations. We came because it's important, and you all need to see our faces and know that we care. But just in case anybody's interested in becoming a sustaining donor of the Democratic Party, you can do that at $25. You can do it at $10. You can do it at $100. We even have it as low as $5 per month reoccurring for you to help us be able to afford the quality staff that we need to get the job done. So if anybody's interested in becoming a sustaining donor, you can do that at our back table. Brandon will help you do that. He just stepped outside, but he'll be able to help you do that if you are interested in becoming a sustaining donor of the Dallas Democratic Party.
You will have more participation if you have a stipulation that they don't say these people are the face of the party. A certain section of the party. This is who the party is, when it should be all of us. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped paying $1,500. Because I didn't feel included. And so, just so you know, we have a lot more participation at that level if it is a true showing of who the party is instead of this looking like the party. Because I did Texas and they said, these people are the only ones that are Democrats, and there's a whole lot of us in there.
And let me, I want to clarify, I want to understand, where is that a picture, is that being said, is that, tell me about that for a second.
I have seen flyers saying, here are the candidates, here are the Dallas County Democratic candidates.
Okay.
And that doesn't show the candidates, it shows a certain group of candidates associated with a certain person.
Yes.
And they're representing that these are the people that are the candidates. And so I'm saying to you, if you want more money, that is what you need to make sure is not continuing to happen.
I hear you. I hear you. And the two things I would say on that particular thing is the bidding process, the professional organization where we're running the operations inside, that is going to be different. That will be different, and the elected officials across the county will be all of the elected officials across the county, and it will be a true coordinated campaign with everyone together who is our nominees for the general election. I promise you that. I promise you that. And I just want to say one thing on that is I'm kind of making a change. And huh?
Go on, check it.
Just one change. No, we're doing a lot more. Dallas County Democratic Party, DCDP. Okay, to me, that has a bad connotation. It has a negative connotation. It has a connotation of the clique of all this. Dallas Democratic Party. The party is people, right? You are the party. We are the party. Everybody that we talk to thinks like us is the party, right? The clubs are the party. The organizations are the party. The elected officials are the party. So we're all the party. And the most important thing, we're dropping that party, right? When we come out in this new world that we're putting in place, we are all Dallas County Democrats. We can't succeed as the party here, and a group here, and a group there, and a group here. We are all Dallas County Democrats. We've got to figure out how to identify as Dallas County Democrats, and we are all the same. So we are going to be committed to making sure that all of us are heard, we're seen, and that we're all working together. So I am 100% committed to figuring out what to do and continuing this conversation to do just that. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the conversation. We will have more of these, and we'll be working on the community council and how to make sure that the communication from all of you is able to be funneled to us and to the volunteers and the staff to really make positive, permanent change in the way that we run things. So thank you for being so honest. Continue to tell me what you need and what you want and what you haven't been getting. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On bid you all adieu.
If you have to sign in, please sign in.